Viruses are and have always been a constant presence in our life. But every now and then, one steps into the spotlight, sparking alarms and curiosity. Recently, you might have heard about hMPV or human metapneumovirus.
Experts say that China is dealing with an outbreak of hMPV.
It is the hMPV or the human metapneumovirus.
Human Metapneumovirus or hMPV.
The human metapneumovirus or hMPV.
If you're wondering, does it require as much attention as COVID-19 or can it be ignored entirely? We are here to cut through the noise and give you just the right amount of scientific information to understand what's going on and why it matters. Welcome to Snap, where we break down science to its simplest blocks. Before we jump to hMPV, let's get a basic understanding of what a virus is and how they are different from other microorganisms like bacteria and fungi. Think of viruses as tiny invaders. They're so small that billions can fit on the head of a pin. Viruses are essentially packets of genetic material wrapped in a protein coat. Unlike bacteria and fungi, they're not truly alive. They exist in a gray area between life and non-life. Well, how is that possible? Let me explain. Viruses are acellular, meaning they don't have a cellular structure like bacteria or fungi. They cannot reproduce independently. Instead, they need to infect a living host cell and hijack its machinery to make copies of themselves. Viruses can infect almost any form of life: humans, animals, plants, and even bacteria. To put it simply, viruses are like USB drive with malicious software. It cannot function on its own, but when connected to a computer, or in our case, a living host cell, it can multiply and cause damage. Let's look at how a virus functions. A virus begins its journey by attaching to a specific receptor on a host cell's surface, like fitting a key into a lock. Once inside, it releases its genetic material, which takes over the host cell's machinery to produce more viruses. These new viruses burst out of the host cell, destroying it, and go on to infect other cells. Viruses are highly specialized, and their ability to mutate makes them particularly challenging to combat. This brings us back to hMPV, a virus that targets the respiratory system. To understand hMPV, let's compare it with the virus we are all familiar with, COVID-19. Think of hMPV as a younger sibling to COVID-19. It's not as severe but still impactful. Both are respiratory viruses, but while COVID-19 belongs to the coronavirus family, hMPV is more closely related to RSV, respiratory syncytial virus. Unlike COVID-19, which shocked the world in 2020, hMPV has been around for a while. Discovered in 2001, it's a known cause of respiratory illnesses, particularly in children, the elderly, and immunocompromised individuals. Viruses like hMPV emerge and become more noticeable due to a variety of scientific factors. For starters, there is mutation and adaptation. Viruses continuously mutate in order to survive. These mutations make them more transmissible, though not necessarily more severe. Then there is environmental factors. Climate changes and deforestation have now made humans more susceptible to viruses which were once thriving in an isolated ecosystem. Increased surveillance. Advances in medical science mean that viruses which were once gone unnoticed are now being detected and studied in real time. Lastly, there is human behavior. Global travel, urbanization, and population density create a thriving environment for viruses to mutate themselves. This is all to say that seasonal emergence of viruses like hMPV is very typical behavior of any other virus. Having said that, though it was discovered more than 20 years back, why is hMPV hitting the headlines now? Experts say it's seasonal, but the unusual uptick has raised concerns. The World Health Organization emphasizes that virus is not new and has predictable seasonal patterns. Let's draw up a comparison between hMPV and COVID-19. Both these viruses cause fever, cough, and shortness of breath, but hMPV is less likely to cause severe systematic effects like loss of taste and smell. hMPV spreads through respiratory droplets, much like COVID-19, but has a shorter contagious period. Well, now that we've raised questions, let's get to the answers. First, should you be worried? The short answer is no. While hMPV is communicable and can cause severe illness in specific populations, it is not in the same scale as COVID-19. Here's why. Chinese health authorities attribute the spike to several seasonal factors and encourage increased hygiene practices without panic. The United States CDC has concluded hMPV in its routine respiratory virus monitoring and advises people to follow general precautions. Indian medical experts highlight the importance of protecting children and elderly individuals during peak seasons of respiratory infections. Think of it as protecting your home during a storm. You need not rebuild, but you need to enforce what you already have. Wash your hands frequently. Avoid crowded places during outbreak and wear a mask if you're unwell. hMPV is a reminder that viruses are always around us, like shadows. They are not always dangerous, but understanding them helps us stay prepared. By staying informed, you can protect yourself and your loved ones. Thanks for watching. For more awe-inspiring science and tech stories, follow Snap for more.